carnal, dice mi gente, la raza está abajo y tú estás indiferente. Prefieres cerrar los ojos, no vi nada. Estabas ocupado por andar en la tomada. Te gusta tirar el cruising todo el día, buscando a las mujeres como si el mundo acabaría. Pero no sabías que tú podías continuar tu educación para superarte en la vida. Hermano joven, levanta tu frente y siente el orgullo de ser un descendiente de los aztecas, los incas y los mayas. Ayúdame a pelear y vencer.
Antonio Díaz con su programa de Mestizo Experience. Como ven, todavía traigo esta máscara puesta porque todavía estamos en el tiempo de COVID y se sigue, pues, la gente sigue enfermándose y yendo a los hospitales, aunque ya no se hace mucho anuncio, pues también como están ahora globalmente ahí luchando contra Rusia y Ucrania y todo lo que está sucediendo. Pero primero dejarles saber a los que no sintonizan mi programa, este programa es enfocado en las gentes indígenas globalmente, pero más aquí local en el estado de Texas o en el sureste, solo que mucho mexicano indígena, ¿no? Y por eso les dejo saber que el programa se llama Mestizo Experience porque es la mezcla entre el español y la lengua náhuatl y las otras lenguas también indígenas del suroeste o del noreste de México. This is a program I do. It's bilingual, and it's focused mainly on indigenous people's history and still what's going on today. You see the mask is because we're still in COVID times, right? This is the era of COVID, and still many people are being hospitalized daily, weekly, and it's just not as much on the radar because of what's going on right now globally with Russia and Ukraine and all that. That's taking more of the attention of the media. And also, of course, with that ongoing struggle, which happens to somehow impact oil production, we see skyrocketing prices of almost everything, right? And so, even though this is a program focused on indigenous rights, we're all human beings, regardless of our ethnicity or history. And so I'll talk a little bit about what's going on globally because I was talking to a friend, right, and he was like, oh, damn Biden and damn the Democrats and all these social programs, they cost so much money and all this. And I said, no. You're looking at it, with, what do you call those, kind of like what they put on the horses, right? You can't see, you have no periphery, you can't see the big picture. Can't see it at all because you're just focused on one thing. I said, now, if you allow yourself to look globally, you'll see that the rich that control the World Bank, that do the international banking and all that, are the same people, blinders, yes. So you go through the world looking through the rose-colored glasses or blinders, and blinders are the ones that horses wear. Anyway, it's trying to let him know that this wealthy group that we call the 1%, they're making more money than ever. They're not feeling the crunch at all as working people do. And a lot of this I was trying to let him know is because some of the working class people, after this last 4 years or 8 years of struggling through Democratic and Republican regimes here in the United States, finally have gotten an increase in wages, even though it's not official, right? The Congress hasn't got together and said we're raising the minimum wage or anything. But most people are they're not working for $7.25 or $7.50 anymore because you can't make it, not even if you have 3 jobs. So the majority of employers are paying at least $10 upwards to $15 for incoming workers. So that's what I was telling them. If you see this, so your cost of living has gone up mainly because of this, because they're paying more, so they want to keep you at that level. So it doesn't matter if you're getting more, you're still only able to afford so much. And the more that everything costs, even if they say, well, Ukraine and Russia can't somehow get the oil to Europe or transport it over here. I never knew we bought that much oil from Russia. I thought it was vice versa, right? That we buy from the Arab Emirates and basically the Saudis, which is why we let them get away with all these human atrocities they do to their own people and to anyone that they don't like globally. Because again, for those that keep thinking that Iraq and Saddam Hussein and everything were responsible for 9/11, getting a little history now, it wasn't. Okay? It was a Saudi. And all those students that crossed through Canada over here mainly were Saudis, the ones that crashed the planes. But we took no action against the Saudis at all. None. Other than being able to hunt down and just a couple of people. But Iraq, we bombed the heck out of it. Kind of like what Russia, or supposedly, is doing with Ukraine. So the United States and Europe or NATO threatening to do the same thing to Russia. See, but I look at everything from all sides. I don't wear blinders. So I tell mainly these people that I talk with that you have to open up and look and go back also in history. Because I was telling them what the United States did with its march from the East Coast to the West Coast and taking away lands that had been Mexican lands for over 300 years. Pretty much what Russia did when it created the Soviet Union and is trying to retake those lands that it lost in the late 1980s. And so I said, all this, yet y'all choose who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. So este programa es bilingüe, aunque está hablando mucho en inglés. Le estaba diciendo que estaba hablando con unas gentes amigables que piensan todo que esto es problema causado por los demócratas, por los programas sociales que existen, que los impuestos y todo, por eso todo cuesta más. Yo le estoy diciendo, no. Tienen que ver todo más, abran su vista, ¿no? Esto es global. Y las mismas familias ricas son los que controlan los bancos, son los que controlan todo, cuáles naciones van a tener comercio, cuáles no van a tener. Por eso hay pobreza en Centroamérica que no debe de haber, porque hay abundancia ahí de todo, de toda la naturaleza. Venezuela no debe de estar pasando por lo que está pasando, simplemente porque ellos tienen elegido a un presidente que los Estados Unidos no pueden negociar con él, ¿verdad? Solo que derrumban y hacen y todo por medio del dinero. Y le estaba diciendo que como aquí ya nadie está trabajando por $7 la hora, aquí en los Estados Unidos, ¿no? Porque no, económicamente no lo podían, no podían estar sobreviviendo. Solo que casi todos los comerciantes, todos los que emplean trabajadores, están pagando de pérdida $10 a $15 la hora. Y por eso ha aumentado todo mucho, ¿no? Porque es el costo de la vida diaria que estos ricos se enfocan, ¿no? No quieren que uno tenga más dinero de lo que debe de tener, porque entonces no va a querer trabajar, ¿no? Se dice, bueno, pero si no tienes lo que quieres para tener el tele, para poder pagar la renta, para pagar por la luz, entonces tienes que trabajar más. Por eso no importa si ganas $15 la hora, todo cuesta más. Yo, como siempre digo, cuando yo he corrido para el Congreso o yo he corrido para ser alcalde, siempre les digo, este es el punto del enfoque, que es el costo de la vida diaria. Si al caso yo les aumento a ustedes que les paguen $100 la hora, pero todo va a costar, les levanto todo lo demás también 100 veces, ¿quién sale ganando? Todavía sale ganándolo todos los comerciantes y no el trabajador. Bueno, es lo que estaba hablando. Yo estaba hablando de Rusia y Ucrania y México, los Estados Unidos, como los Estados Unidos cuando empujó del Océano Pacífico para Atlántico y quitando todas las tierras a toda la gente indígena, incluyendo a México que acababa de ser independiente de España, ¿verdad? Les quitó las tierras a todos. Y digo, pues es lo que está haciendo Rusia. Rusia hizo ya cuando se crió como los estados soviéticos y luego perdió mucha tierra en los 1980s, que andaba ahí ¿cómo se llama? Ronald Reagan ahí con Brezhnev diciéndole que derrumbara el muro. ¡Tumba el muro! ¿Qué le decía? Y ahora aquí andaban todos los presidentes aquí en los Estados Unidos. Vamos a poner un muro aquí, 2,000 millas a cruzar aquí el sureste, para que no puedan cruzar los mexicanos ilegales. Pero allá andan llorando, en Rusia, en Ucrania, que Rusia está violando derechos humanos. Y aquí, cada año, diariamente, muere gente mexicana y de Centroamérica que en los Estados Unidos no le está dando amnistía, no le está dando manera de estar aquí legalmente. Sí se los da a la gente del Medio Oriente, de África, de todo, que están pasando por guerras, pero no a la gente que todavía parece como gente indígena, gente de piel café, gente que estaba aquí antes que los gringos vinieran para acá, antes que los rubios, los güeros vinieran para acá, los que eran de Europa, que tomaron poder. Por eso digo, ese racismo, esas violaciones en contra de derechos humanos, derechos migratorios de las gentes indígenas, que siempre yo lucho, que se deben de reconocer. Así no pudiéramos cruzar como cruzaban antes nuestros ancestros, del norte al sur y del sur al norte, buscando empleo, buscando vivienda, buscando educación, salud, lo que sea. Eso de perdida se nos debe de regresar ese derecho de emigrar libremente, porque no se nos va a regresar las tierras, no se nos van a regresar todos los derechos a los minerales que están bajo la tierra, a las aguas, a los árboles, a todo lo que no nos lo van a dar para atrás, al oro que ya han mandado para Europa, que estaban mandando con España, barco sobre barco para la Iglesia Católica ahí, para Italia, para España. Todo eso es historia. Oh, y hablando de historia, marzo, que estamos ahorita, y abril, ahora abril, eran los tiempos en 1836, cuando otra vez los inmigrantes ilegales que entraron para acá, para el sureste, que eran europeos, que querían vivir como los de los Estados Unidos, que todavía podían ser dueños de otro ser humano, de esclavos. Aquí en Texas criaron esta nación que es la República de Texas, que todavía podían ser dueños de gente de piel negra y café y gente indígena, esclavos. Ahorita están celebrando la fiesta, ¿verdad? Porque en abril, el 21, es cuando derrotaron al ejército de Santa Ana de México, ahí por el río San Jacinto, que ahora está el pueblito ahí del Aporte. Esto es historia, ¿no? Lo están celebrando aquí en San Antonio porque aquí, recuerden, cuando los anglosajones mataron como arriba de 600, y casi todos los 600 esos eran gentes indígenas. Sí, andaban vestidas en trajes militar español, porque es lo que por casi 400 años España estaba ahí de dueños de las gentes indígenas en México. Los dejaron ahí tirados, ahí por todos lados, dejando que se los comieran los perros y todo. Y estaban gritando, recuerden el Álamo, recuerden a Goliat, cuando estaban matando a los mexicanos. Eso es lo que celebran, es lo que ahorita andan por el río, por las calles aquí en San Antonio, porque aquí está lo que le llaman el Álamo, ¿no? Que era la misión Béjar de Valero, una de las misiones que, otra vez, que fue construida por labor de la gente indígena, y ahí es donde la Iglesia Católica tomó posesión, y de lugar de ser indígenas nos hicieron ciudadanos del rey de España, y luego ciudadanos mexicanos, franceses y ingleses, y usted dígalo. Esa es historia. Pero nunca se nos regresó nuestra identidad indígena, nunca, hasta la fecha. Y por eso no tenemos el derecho de cruzar el río Bravo, el río Grande, para acá, para migrar libremente. No hay derecho de cruzar de los guatemaltecos para México, de los hondureños, salvadoreños. Todos nos impusieron estas fronteras. Los españoles, los franceses, los alemanes, todos los que vinieron para acá. Y todavía vivimos sobre eso. Y están celebrando que se formó la República de Texas, que mayormente era para darle derecho a los güeros que siguieran siendo dueños de gente de piel café, de gente que no era blanca. Esclavos, de ser dueños de ellos. Esto fue y está en el artículo número 9 en la Constitución de la República de Texas. La puede leer. Solo que todos estos que están aquí gritando que esto fue aquí donde se creó libertad y quién sabe qué, y por eso murieron esos güeros en el Álamo y todo eso. Pura mentira. Solo que le digo a todos los mexicanos, si ven mi programa, llámenme para averiguar esto. ¿Ustedes creen que están celebrando libertad? No, están celebrando esclavitud. Bueno, I've been saying, I went over a few things international-wise, but also over indigenous identity, how it was never returned once the Spanish monks took it away from us and made us Spanish citizens and Mexican citizens and French, English, whatever you want to call it, U.S. citizens or citizens of the Republic of Texas, even though Texas, being the racist republic it was killing Mexicans and taking their land, killing all native people, indigenous Indians, if you want to say. We were not supposed to exist. We were driven out into Mexico, driven out, just killed, either leave. Comanches lost their Comancherias, Apaches lost their Apacherias. That Mexico used to have these treaties with native people where they had large tracts of land that were not imposed on by the Mexican government or New Spain, by none. The United States didn't want that. The Republic of Texas didn't want that. They had a law of extermination, annihilation. You're gone, or we kill you and take all your land. And then they tried to do that with Mexicans also. But with Mexico, because first they used Mexican citizens to turn against Mexico, right? That call themselves Tejanos, which is what they're celebrating right now. Okay, celebrating that right now, left and right, down the street, in what they created as a river that the Spaniards did through indigenous labor, right? Creating those canals, acequias, back in the day. Now they ride up and down on boats and charge you up the wazoo to just sit and watch them pass by. But they're celebrating slavery because the Battle of San Jacinto is what they celebrate, because that happened on April the 21st. And again, in March is when Santa Anna took the Alamo and continued to try to march eastward and engage all the gringos, all the Europeans that were here illegally and creating revolutions to take away land from Mexico. So that happened on April the 21st. What is now the city of La Porte, and where the river of San Jacinto is. So, by Houston, in case you all don't know. That's what they're celebrating. That's what they're celebrating downtown right now. Be celebrating it up till next week. They have the carnival, have all this kind of stuff. But when you're celebrating slavery, you're not celebrating the cradle of freedom. There was no fight. There was no stand made at the Alamo for freedom. It was made so that all these European immigrants that were coming from the United States that were already used to owning black people as slaves and also treating Native people as savages and inhuman if they didn't stay in reservations. All this was going on then, and pretty much is what all these laws that we live under are based from, okay? And you had the civil rights struggle in the 1960s, which is 100 and some years after Texas was a republic. Still fighting against discrimination. Blacks couldn't go into. We used to have a nice nurse in Walgreens downtown that they couldn't go and sit down and order a sandwich because they were not supposed to sit up there. Okay? All this is a struggle that has been going on. Now, all you young people that don't know anything about it, I'm already of age where I was a kid during those times, and it didn't mean much to me as a kid. But now when I reflect on it, yeah, those were very racist goddamn times. My grandfather couldn't go in a restaurant, especially up East Texas, and try to sit down and have a cup of coffee and a plate of food to eat in there with the whites because he was Mexican. Even though our blood lineage goes back thousands of years here, and we're one of the founding families in the missions here in San Antonio. No, you can't sit here and eat. Even though your ancestors probably sat there and ate and fished and hunted for thousands of years. No. See, that is what I talk about. And I talk about it because these wounds that we have, if you don't thoroughly clean them out and heal from it, it just festers and just stays there. And we need to address it. That's why I keep talking about indigenous peoples having the rights of migration. We're not going to get our land back. We're not going to get all the minerals, all the gold, all the silver that was taken from here, taken to Europe. We're not going to get it back. Hell, we don't even get back the headdresses of our chiefs. Their bones. Nothing. We have to fight for them. We have to prove that we are actually directly descendant from certain people just to say, stop digging them up. That's going on here in San Antonio right now because they're revamping the downtown area right here by what they call Milam Park. And again, I don't like the name Milam because he was one of the racist slave owners. And yet we have a park right in the smack of downtown named after him. We have Travis Park, another one. These people weren't here for very long, and they called them Texans. And yet we, that have been here for thousands of years, were chased out of our homes burned down, our people hung, killed, lynched. And we're not supposed to remember none of that. We're supposed to be down the street celebrating that the Republic of Texas was created 1836, supposedly became a state 1845, and the United States took everything away from Mexico in 1848 to 1850. And right now we don't have the right to even though people are dying in the river, children, we're in prison camps alongside the border, alongside the river. We're not supposed to say anything, but we are supposed to talk about what's going on in Europe, about NATO, about Ukraine and Russia. Hey, Mexica New Year starts March 12th. Watch this video on our celebration. Tlazocamati, Tosticati. Till next time. Antonio Diaz.